I'm attorney Kelly Grigsby Jones. When I graduated law school in 1995, my classmates would know me as Kelly Grigsby, and I studied here at Case Western from 1992 through 95, and it was a wonderful experience. I remember my final exam, second semester, third year, my dad asking whether it was all worth it, and I said it was challenging, it was hard, but it was intellectually stimulating, and I absolutely got what I expected out of it. So I very much appreciated that. I came to Case Western from another Ohio school. I grew up in Oberlin, another college town, Oberlin, Ohio, and went to undergraduate school in Worcester to attend the College of Worcester. So I was, like many of my classmates, straight from high school, straight to college, straight to law school. So I thought I was kind of a bookworm, a bit of a nerd, and I thought I could have kept on studying, but I wanted to be an attorney. So probably since age 12 or 13, I decided I'm kind of smart, I can do good on homework, I get decent grades in class, but I don't like science, so I'm probably not going to end up being a medical doctor. I'm not necessarily good at drawing, and math isn't my strong suit, so possible I'm not going to end up being an architect. But I liked to talk a lot. Growing up, grade school was Catholic school, and the nuns told me I talked quite too much. But being an attorney, I knew I could get paid to run my mouth, and so that's what I do. Honestly, as a young girl, the idea of being an attorney also was mirrored on some of the TV shows I liked to watch. It was definitely your Matlock TV shows. I very much wanted to have some of those Perry Mason, I got you kind of moments. And that oratory in a courtroom and speaking to people and being influential was the vision I had in my head of finding an argument, kind of like debate club, having your research, your topics, and then just articulating that and being able to put forth a good case. So that's what got me to law school, and that's what I thought I wanted to be when I finished law school. I thought it was a wonderful campus. I didn't get too much an opportunity to enjoy other parts of the campus very often because classes are very hard and there's a lot of reading that was required afterwards, but I thought it was a nice walkable place. There were definitely times that I might leave the law school itself and go sit near the botanical gardens or go sit by Wade Oval and just get a little bit of fresh air, clear my mind. You know, the studies were kind of overwhelming at times, and I wanted to just get some fresh air. I thought it was a beautiful campus. I mean, I looked around at a lot of different schools, and my plan literally was I wanted to be here until law school was finished, so I needed to be comfortable in that space for at least 3 years. It was pretty, it was aesthetic, the buildings were nice, the garden looked lovely, and then the people were my folks. I mean, these are all Northeast Ohio folks, and I grew up here. First semester of law school, I took torts, and Bob Strassfeld was the professor, and I loved it. I didn't know when you got to law school you weren't supposed to major in something, but when I took torts, it rang true to me. It was something I understood, and I remember being frustrated that I didn't get an A on the final exam, and I asked to look at a model test, and I thought, I said this, they said that. I went point by point on the test, and I said I should have gotten an A. And he sat with me and he said, but you forgot to talk about these other 5 issues. And I said, those were red herrings. Those were non-issues. He said, you have to explain that they're non-issues. And no joke, first semester, first year of law school, it was a wake-up call. And it literally plays out every day in my current litigation practice. I know what the issues are, but the people who are the audience, my jury or other parties, I have to tell them why other issues are irrelevant, what the non-relevant issues are, what the red herrings are, and explain it away. So kudos to Professor Strassfeld for putting me on the right path right away. I had marvelous experiences also. I don't remember my criminal procedure professor, but I thought it was kind of cool that he actually invited us to watch Law and Order as part of our homework. I feel like it was the Wednesday discussion, because he wanted to show how the process of a case, a crime, the negotiations, with the police officers, how prosecutors would work it out, how a jury would entertain it, fruit of the poisonous tree. the Law and Order is still now in business with several spin-offs, but for 3 decades now. And I got a chance from a professor who was a prosecutor as well, who gave us that experience. I've had marvelous mentors, Professor Enton, bless his heart. I struggled with administrative law, but he was frankly he was a really great mentor to me as well. I think most importantly was when I took classes from Bill Leatherberry. I remember him saying he was a Case alum and he actually did landscaping in addition to going to college. But he taught insurance law, and it resonated with me, and I ended up taking a second class from him in insurance law. And that's the nature of my litigation practice now, is that I do a lot of insurance and defense practice work. So lots of faces, lots of names, lots of individuals. It was a good experience. It's surprising that I can pull back some of those names. I had no idea where I wanted to go right away. I knew I wanted to be a litigator. I wanted to be in a courtroom, and having an opportunity to figure out how do you get from the start of a lawsuit into the courtroom. I didn't know. For 3 years at Case, I wanted to get into the clinic. I wanted to get an opportunity to get involved with, actual clients and do real work. But it was a very popular clinic and there were very limited spaces, so I never got my break. So I used my other, time here at Case Western to do moot court. So it was something analogous to the process of thinking, seeing an issue, researching it, arguing it, to have something like a mock experience for that. I ended up doing some contract work when I first graduated with an attorney, just kind of assignments. I would show up and do, a DUI case, or I would show up and do a property type of case. And then I honestly stayed in contact with the law school, and there was a position opened in Ashtabula County, which is an hour to the east. I lived in Cleveland Heights. I drove an hour each way to and from Ashtabula each day for a year. Loved every minute of it, including the horrible winters when I was worried about, major lake effect snow. And I did general practice work out there for a year and loved it to pieces. I got my opportunity to work with clients, to handle their issues, to research the problems, and to argue the concerns in court. It was the DUIs, it was criminal cases, it was domestic relations cases, it was being a guardian ad litem or doing assistance in the juvenile court process. There were some real estate transactions we did. I got a smattering of all of it. And honestly, I think that was really helpful because I could really clearly tell what I liked and what I did not like. Staying again in contact with the law school, I still always wanted to get back to, the Cleveland area preferably, and there was a clerkship that opened up. And so staying in contact with the placement office here and some of the other administrative staff and some of the professors, I was aware that one of the Case alum was seeking a staff attorney, a law clerk here in Cleveland. And Judge Lillian Green was my mentor. She just recently passed away. And I enjoyed having a 3-year clerkship with her in the Common Pleas Court here in Cleveland. Had a blast. I had an opportunity to assist her with the civil litigation docket that she handled, but because it's a general division, that judge handles also criminal matters. And I had an opportunity to be the fly on the wall, which we all wish we could be, to see prosecutions take place, to hear her confer with the jury. I had an opportunity to meet with other practitioners in the Cleveland area, or at least in Northeast Ohio. And I really appreciated that experience because in the 3 years I clerked with Judge Green, it almost was like a reverse interview. I had the benefit of being still. I was in one place for 3 years, but so many different practitioners and different type of cases were presented to her, and I had an opportunity to see who's doing good in the city, who's doing ethical work, who's making a mockery of the system, who's kind of being a jerk. And it really was a marvelous opportunity for me to really size up the bar, size up the practitioners in town, and to learn how to behave when it was my turn. As a result of that reverse interview process for that 3-year clerkship, I was looking at other practitioners who did litigation. I wanted to know who those trial attorneys were. I wanted to consider working with the people who were filing good pleadings, good motions, or making good oratory in front of the judge, even if it didn't go to trial. And I ended up with a law firm also with Case Western Law alumni. My other mentor is Roger Williams and Bill Scully, and they had insurance defense practice. I remember starting in June of 2000 and saying, I really want to do this job. How do I get to trial? Do I sit second chair? Do I have to do a lot of studying? Do I carry briefcases? They said, nope, we're just going to give you the ones you can't screw up too badly. So I got my first jury trial within 3 months, and it was off and running from there. I've had an absolute blast. I worked for that firm for 22 and a half years. I had over 60 jury trials in the state of Ohio in general, and with that firm, we had a Northeast Ohio office, and I also was instrumental in helping us staff and set up a Columbus office. So there was not only a Northeast Ohio presence, but a Central Ohio presence, and so an opportunity to really get across maybe 60 of the 88 counties in Ohio in that firm. I then just left that firm almost 2 years ago and am with a firm in Columbus, Perez Morris, and they also are headquartered in Columbus but have a Cleveland presence and some offices as well in other states. We have a Toledo office as well, and I'm still doing some of the same work that I have been doing. I'm doing the defense and the litigation work and the jury trials. I, in fact, started with that firm and took my first jury trial within 45 days, which was wonderful. And it was the thrill of it and getting to dig in and research and having an opportunity to represent clients, present well in a court, be professional with the other attorneys, learn how to navigate and massage my way into the hearts of judges that are a little bit too ornery. I think all of those are parts of the processes that I've managed to learn over the last 3 decades. I have a lot of colleagues who have graduated law school with me. Some are in politics, some have owned restaurants, some have done government work, some have flat out decided to do a different kind of career altogether. And I've always wondered when I was going to lose enthusiasm, when the luster for my litigation practice might fade, and maybe I should have a fire drill. I should be ready to pivot and do real estate or to banking or do something else. I absolutely still really enjoy what I'm doing, enjoying the type of litigation work that I have, the type of motions I have to file or the research that has to be undertaken, the oratory that comes with the litigation practice. And I'm really, honestly, I'm very fortunate that I don't know what cosmic forces are in play, but I think the jobs that I've held, the individuals with whom I've worked, have been a good pairing. I've had, sadly, so many of my classmates worked at law firms and got burnt out, or worked with other attorneys who were not, too much micromanagement or too laissez-faire and didn't give them enough tutelage or enough guidance. And I really can say each step on my process since I left Case Western has been a very rich and a very rewarding connection. Honestly, the firm I'm with now, I was really reticent to leave my prior job with Williams, Moliterno, and Scully because I'd been there so long and things were still great. And I thought, why would I leave? It's things are well. And then I started to chuckle and I said, they actually asked to interview me. And I thought, nobody goes to the pound to get an old dog. So there might be something to this. And I looked at the firm. I looked at the demographics of the firm. It's a women-owned firm. It's minority-owned firm. It has aligned values with some of the things that I find to be important. And I found another really comfortable fit where I am now. So I'm ecstatic. I came to law school with 2 kids. I started college with 2 kids. And my son and daughter went to college with me. And when we graduated college, they came to law school with me. My daughter started kindergarten the same year I started at law school. And my son followed, the year behind that. And they were part of this process with me. There were days that they came to the law school. Maybe they sat in the contracts class or they sat in, one of my sessions. A lot of times they were here after classes ended to do moot court practice. They ran up and down the lecture halls and learned sort of to navigate the space. I was walking in today remembering I had to ask for my schedule to be changed that first semester, first year, because the 8 o'clock class conflicted with when she started kindergarten. And I had to walk in. I already had to navigate. I already had to negotiate. I already had a problem. I had to find a solution to it. And that started the first semester of law school. And I was able to get the, registrar's office to find me a slightly different schedule that aligned. And I think it's a people process, right? I had people along the way that helped make this easier. And
You didn't make it easy.
I made it as hard as it could possibly be. Nobody should try to go to school with 2 kids as a single mom. It's not the ideal opportunity. But I wanted to go to law school, and I wanted to be a mom, and frankly, there's no rule that says you can't be both. So they were in this process with me. I'll tell you also one thing. I remember when I took the bar exam, my oldest, my daughter, was also taking the state proficiency test. And she said, "Mom, I'm so nervous. It's like for kids, it's the bar exam for kids. You have to study and get a test on all the things you know." And that's an example of them seeing this process and being part of the process and me sharing, what it is that I'm doing. I told her the same thing. The bar exam is really crazy. It's going to be studying all of the things that I learned in law school, and I got to get it done in this period of days. I was very honored to be asked to be part of any group here at the law school. I feel very honored. Any ways that I can assist has been my desire, because there were people along the way who helped me as well. And I realized that kind of connection, that kind of mentorship, that kind of face of the university is imperative. It's why your students want to come to Case Western. It's why the students stay at Case Western. It's why professors want to come and be part of the faculty here at Case Western. And honestly, it's why I like to walk around and kind of do a little brag about, I went to Case Western Reserve University School of Law. It has its cachet when I walk around. And so just being invited to get back into this space and an opportunity to join such a venerable group of alumni and other supporters of the university is my pleasure. Just because you have an affiliation with an organization doesn't mean that you're committed to it. It doesn't mean that you understand it. You understand the mission. You understand some of the work that's necessary to keep that organization going. I went to law school here, and things went smoothly from an administrative and a teaching process while I was here. But it took work. And after I was out of the law school and I had an opportunity to look in the rearview mirror and see how did I manage that process, there was faculty that was supportive. There were alumni that were supportive. There were scholarships that were available at this school that were available to a student like me. There were administrative staff that was here to support me through that process. And frankly, my engagement with the Law Association Alumni Board, my engagement in other volunteer, my engagement in homecoming activities or other moot court competitions here is part of that process. You have to still reach back to help someone to step forward. And I would certainly hope that I am a good face for the organization, for the university, for the mission that this school has, because I'm here today because of Case Western Law School experience, and I would definitely want to reflect that back in the spaces that I occupy. I do a little talking and marketing and recommending that folks come here. In fact, one of my classmates, my best friend, Perlette Ramos, her daughter didn't come to law school here, but she did come to Case Western as an undergraduate. And so, I was here to support her for that process as well. And I want the alumni here to understand that just because they got the degree here, there's still people who could use and benefit from their assistance. And I hope to be that continued messenger as a part of this society. I'm honored to be a person who finished law school. It's tough. I'm ecstatic to be in the room with some of the other Society of Benchers individuals. In addition to some of the inductees, I looked through the list of the people who are getting honored, and I know them reputationally. I've never worked with them, but I've seen them in action. Some of them are venerable practitioners in this field as well, and I'm grateful that collectively we can represent Case Western Law School. I'm glad to be a part of that group and hope to continue to get those relationships to start or to foster and flourish. I have watched with great admiration about how the law school has grown, especially in the last decade. I know we just recently have changed over the dean ship, and I think the new dean has a great opportunity to take Case Western forward, has a great platform for which to start. We did some fundraising, we built up the school, we've built up reputations, we've had staff, professors, the deans have traveled to make sure that we have good students that come to this university. We've got great faculty that's here. I'm ecstatic to see it continue to thrive and grow. All of my cases are funny. I can pull nuggets almost from each one of them. The funny part is I've had a couple of trials where I felt like I got my Perry Mason moments out of them, where I had a poor injured lady say she was so sore from a car accident and she can't ever do anything again, and I cross-examined her to say, can you give me an idea what problems you have? And she proceeds to say, I can't move my arm very good like this. And that's the part where I say, no further questions, Your Honor, and I sit down. Or I had a lady talk about her injuries, and again, kind of embellishing about how injured and how sore and how permanent she thinks the problems are, and asked, well, what problems do you have? And she says, well, I can't hardly even lift my child. And I said, can you give me an example? She says, yes, like if I wanted to play with the baby like this. And again, it's a demonstrative tool, but it's sort of me acting a tad bit naive and asking sort of just a general open question and leading them right to me. I thank Professor Strassfeld for tipping me off. I thank Professor Leatherberry for tipping me off. Professor Katz was instrumental in making sure I understood how to get the evidence into trial. I mean, these are experiences. I came here hoping I could do those things, and I appreciate that I've been able to continue to do those things. I will also say that the class of 1995 should be applauded because we took our exams while they were building the new addition to the law school. And so it was very noisy. There were no off-site opportunities for people to take their tests. It was at a time when there were no take-home exams. So we're the rough and tough group, the class of 95. I had no idea what it takes. Sometimes, honestly, there are groups that people belong to, and it seems mysterious. How do they get inducted? How are they selected? And I'll be honest with you, as a woman and as a attorney of color, it seems like there's a clique typically, and it's not advertised. There's no clear invitation on how people can get to those spaces. And so sometimes I just sort of go on my lone wolf way and figure just do good for the sake of doing good. And then I remember my mom always saying, you never know who's watching. You don't know who might still be paying attention, even though you don't know that they're looking. And so I can very much appreciate that while I've been trying to do good, I've been trying to do ethical, consistent, sometimes successful, outcomes of my legal cases. I want to represent my clients, and I want to represent my firm, and I want to represent myself. I want to represent the law school. I do want to make all those things happen. And I didn't realize some of those are the same benchmarks that people are looking at for these types of groups, these types of organizations. And I'm thrilled to know that that's available